In a quaint suburban neighborhood, where tree-lined streets and friendly faces harmonized with the natural rhythm of community life, Tyler had carved out a special niche. As a local entrepreneur, he poured his energy into not just building his business but also fostering camaraderie among his neighbors. Every Friday night, Tyler transformed his cozy backyard into a haven of warmth and laughter, his weekly bonfire gathering. The setup was charmingly simple. Tyler's well-maintained fire pit sat on a gravel base in the center of his yard, surrounded by an array of colorful lounge chairs and soft blankets. String lights twinkled above like stars, casting a gentle glow that bathed the scene in an inviting ambience. He made sure to create an atmosphere of peace and joy. Neighbors were drawn to the crackling fire, welcoming the shared moments of storytelling, laughter, and connection that ignited under the flickering flames. For years, these gatherings had brought not only light but also a sense of belonging to the community. Children's giggles echoed as they roasted marshmallows, while adults exchanged tales of their week over cups of hot cocoa or chilled drinks. Tyler's thoughtful attention ensured that safety measures were always in place. He kept a hose and fire extinguisher nearby and regularly monitored the flames. It became a cherished ritual, a respite from the hustle and bustle of daily life that strengthened neighborhood ties. However, this idyllic routine would soon face an unexpected challenge. Enter the new president of the Homeowners Association, assertive and determined to impose stricter regulations on the neighborhood. With her arrival came a sudden wave of scrutiny directed toward Tyler's beloved bonfire nights. Fueled by her ambition to establish control, she began to scrutinize everything, insisting upon interpretations of existing codes that had previously been taken for granted. One afternoon, Tyler received a formal letter from the HOA office accusing him of violating open flame ordinances. Despite having all required permits and evidence that his setup adhered to safety standards, he found himself in an unfamiliar predicament. The letter warned him of impending fines and demanded that he cease his bonfire gatherings immediately, leaving him both confused and frustrated. Undeterred by this blatant overreach, Tyler refused to let fear extinguish what had become a pillar of community spirit. The following Friday, he decided to throw his biggest bonfire yet, a symbolic stand against the HOA's encroachment on his home and social life. Inviting half the neighborhood for what promised to be an unforgettable night was an act of resilience. Among those attending was his mom, the mayor of the city, who had always supported her son's endeavored goodwill. As laughter filled the night air and the fire blazed brightly, it breathed new life into both friendships and support networks among residents. Yet just as spirits soared higher than the flames, the intrusive presence of HOA board members descended upon the gathering like dark clouds rolling in on a sunny day, threatening to rain on Tyler's parade. The confrontation looked dire until an unexpected turn unfolded, one that would shake the very foundations of power within their quaint community and bring residents together against unwelcome authority. As Tyler immersed himself in the preparations for his largest bonfire yet, a palpable tension began to unfold within the neighborhood. The catalyst for this shift was none other than the newly elected president of the Homeowners Association, Veronica Blake. Known for her assertive demeanor and unyielding approach to governance, she quickly set her sights on enforcing stricter regulations that she believed were necessary to maintain order and propriety in the community. Veronica arrived on the HOA board with a mission. Her visions of a pristine neighborhood came with an accompanying sense of supervision that many residents found overbearing. She viewed Tyler's weekly bonfires as an infringement on the HOA's standards, citing potential hazards and disturbances that she claimed could arise from open flames. Whispers of her agenda spread through the community like wildfire, igniting concern among longtime residents who had previously enjoyed a harmonious living environment. In her first official meeting with the board, Veronica laid out her plans. "We need to uphold a standard," she asserted, leaning over the table with fervor. "These gatherings create chaos, loud music, late-night commotion. It's more than just a fire." Many members nodded in agreement, caught up in her rhetoric, while others exchanged nervous glances, unsure of where this new direction would lead. Before long, Veronica's authoritative approach escalated into action. She initiated a review of existing regulations, scrutinizing every minor detail and examining each resident's activities under a new lens of scrutiny. Her efforts culminated in the alarming letter sent to Tyler, accusing him of violating open flame ordinances despite his adherence to all safety protocols. The neighborhood was rife with whispers and speculation. Some residents supported Veronica's aim for stricter oversight. Others began to resent her heavy-handed tactics that encroached upon their traditions and freedoms. Tyler found himself at the center of this brewing conflict, an unwitting battleground between personal liberties and regulatory overreach. To further aggravate tensions, Veronica began making unannounced visits around the neighborhood. With each stop she took at neighboring homes, she reminded residents about their responsibilities under HOA guidelines. "We are all responsible for preserving our property values," she would say with an air of authority that left no room for dissent. As eyes turned toward Tyler's bonfire nights as potential trouble spots, discussions turned heated within circles once filled only with laughter and camaraderie. On the surface, many chose diplomacy. They greeted Veronica politely while silently harboring their frustrations about her stringent rule-setting. Yet beneath this veneer of civility lay discomfort and irritation simmering just below the surface, leading to hushed conversations about how much longer they could tolerate such interference in their lives. As Friday approached and Tyler prepared for what he hoped would be a triumphant gathering of unity against growing opposition, it became clear that his backyard bonfire would serve as more than simply an evening of relaxation. It had transformed into an emblem of resistance against a leadership culture that threatened to stifle community spirit entirely. The people were torn. Could they continue relaxing under the stars without fear of reprimand? And as Tyler looked around at the friends he had brought together time and again, he realized he might not be alone in wanting to push back against what seemed increasingly like unwarranted control over their joyful gatherings. He felt resolve building within him as he considered how they might collectively stand up against Veronica's rising power. As Tyler's anticipation grew for the upcoming bonfire, an unexpected letter arrived that would dramatically alter the tone of the neighborhood. The envelope bore the official HOA insignia, and with a mix of excitement and dread, he tore it open to find an accusation that struck at the heart of his cherished tradition. The letter, penned by none other than President Veronica Blake herself, claimed that Tyler was in violation of the neighborhood's open flame ordinances. Flipping through the carefully worded paragraphs, Tyler felt a wave of disbelief wash over him. Despite his meticulous compliance with all regulations, his fire pit was legally installed, he obtained necessary permits, and every safety measure was rigorously adhered to. Here lay a formal warning threatening fines and demanding an immediate cease and desist regarding his backyard gatherings. "Unbelievable," he muttered under his breath as he leaned against his kitchen counter. It felt surreal to be confronted with such hostility after years of celebrating community spirit. He remembered countless Friday nights spent around the fire pit, where neighbors of all ages came together for warmth, laughter, and stories shared under twinkling string lights. The unexpected accused him as if he were running a dangerous operation rather than nurturing the bonds that connected them all. Tyler's mind raced as he considered how to respond. He crafted an earnest reply that emphasized his commitment to safety and community, detailing the care he took in ensuring every bonfire was not only enjoyable but also compliant. Yet as he paced around his kitchen contemplating next steps, doubt crept in. What if Veronica's determination to impose her rules wouldn't bend in response to reason? Would this struggle intensify rather than resolve? Despite his frustration, Tyler found himself motivated to stand firm against this unwarranted attack on what had become a beloved neighborhood ritual. He realized that it was crucial not only for himself, but for everyone who enjoyed those fireside gatherings. This moment sparked a thought. Perhaps now was the time to rally support from fellow neighbors who might share his sentiments about Veronica's heavy-handedness. As Friday night approached, anticipation mingled with anxiety. Residents were on edge due to whispers circulating about HOA oversight reaching new extremes. Conversations shifted from everyday pleasantries to discussions about personal freedoms and overregulation within their community. A response Tyler hoped would translate into solidarity during his upcoming bonfire. That evening, illuminated by flickering flames and hushed murmurs of concern outside his home, Tyler resolved to turn his gathering into more than just another night around the fire. He aimed to create a platform for voicing grievances against the expanding reach of authority, threatening their culture of camaraderie. He expected two things: comfort from friends supporting one another in unity and potential confrontation from those enforcing rules they believed were meant to maintain order. Feeling both apprehension and determination coursing through him like electricity, Tyler recognized this bonfire would serve as a litmus test not only for himself, but for everyone gathered. Their collective response would shape the course ahead and challenge whether their neighborhood could withstand an encroachment upon its cherished traditions. Determined not to let the HOA's threats extinguish his spirit, Tyler knew that his next bonfire had to be more than just a casual gathering. It needed to be a statement. He envisioned an event that would rally the neighborhood and demonstrate their collective resistance against Veronica Blake's overreach. This mad rush of inspiration prompted him to expand the invitation list significantly, reaching out to half the neighborhood, hoping to inspire unity and solidarity. As the decision solidified in his mind, Tyler's excitement grew. He crafted invitations with enthusiasm, emphasizing the importance of community support and the chance to engage in a meaningful discussion about the ongoing situation. His backyard fire pit became a symbol, not just of warmth and laughter, but of resilience against unwelcome authority. To add weight to the occasion, he decided to invite his mother, the mayor of the city, knowing her presence would undoubtedly draw attention and lend credibility to their cause. The week passed in a blur of preparation as Tyler meticulously planned every detail, envisioning a bonfire that would stand out from all others. He gathered extra seating, decorated with twinkling lights, and prepped plenty of snacks for guests. As Friday drew closer, he felt a mixture of excitement and nervousness. He was about to light not just a fire, but a beacon of hope for his neighbors. On the night of the event, Tyler's yard transformed into an inviting oasis filled with laughter and conversation. Neighbors arrived with smiles, eager to reconnect over flickering flames, while children scampered about in joyous abandon. The convivial atmosphere was contagious. People exchanged stories and rekindled friendships that had waned in the face of burgeoning tensions. As expected, his mother's arrival brought an added layer of energy to the gathering. The mayor greeted residents warmly, her presence lending gravitas that Tyler hoped would galvanize their shared purpose. As she moved through the crowd, engaging in discussions about community values and traditions, it became clear that many neighbors felt equally dismayed by Veronica's heavy-handed governance. However, as waves of camaraderie washed over them like glowing embers rising into the night sky, Tyler remained acutely aware that their gathering held potential consequences. He anticipated pushback from the HOA, especially if Veronica learned of this united front being formed against her authority. But confronting that fear only strengthened his resolve. This was a battle worth fighting for. As darkness enveloped them and flames danced higher, Tyler gathered everyone around to address the group. "Tonight isn't just about having fun," he began, his voice steady yet passionate. "It's about standing together as a community and asserting our right to celebrate our traditions without unnecessary interference." The crowd erupted into cheers and applause, amplifying his sense of purpose. Tyler continued to speak from his heart about how crucial these gatherings were for maintaining connection amongst themselves, a vital ingredient for thriving community life. "We deserve the freedom to come together here without fear or intimidation," he declared fervently. Little did they know that unseen eyes were watching. Members from the HOA could very well be lurking nearby, concerned about what this vibrant show of unity might mean for their grip on control. But for Tyler and those gathered around him, this night was just the beginning, a spark igniting within them all that would blaze brightly as they collectively navigated an uncertain future together. As the bonfire crackled and laughter filled the air, a sense of unity enveloped Tyler's backyard. Neighbors mingled, sharing stories and enjoying the warmth of the flames, when suddenly the atmosphere shifted. A group of HOA board members led by Veronica Blake strode into the gathering, their expressions serious and unyielding. Tyler's heart sank as he recognized them approaching. The laughter faded into murmurs of confusion, with guests exchanging glances that ranged from surprise to concern. Veronica, with her characteristic assertiveness, stepped forward, arms crossed defiantly. "This event is in violation of HOA regulations," she declared loudly enough to command attention. "You need to extinguish this fire immediately." Tyler took a deep breath, trying to maintain his composure amid the sudden tension. "We have all necessary permits and are in compliance with safety protocols," he replied, his voice steady but firm as he addressed Veronica and her entourage. He could feel the support of his neighbors behind him. Their solidarity bolstered his resolve, but Veronica was undeterred. "I don't care about your permits. This is a blatant disregard for our community standards," she shot back, her tone dripping with authority. "If you don't shut this down, I will have no choice but to impose fines and take further action." One of the other board members moved toward a corner of the yard where Tyler had set up a makeshift area for refreshments. He pulled out a phone and began dialing, an attempt to involve the fire marshal in what he deemed an emergency situation. The crowd's unease grew palpable as whispers spread. Many felt that their peaceful evening had been hijacked by an unwarranted display of power. Seeing the panic ripple through his neighbors, Tyler knew he had to act quickly. He turned to the assembled guests and raised his voice above the murmurs. Everyone here knows we've created a safe and enjoyable environment. We're not causing trouble, we're celebrating our community. His words sparked encouragement among those gathered, who started voicing their support with nods and murmured affirmations. Just then, as if summoned by their collective defiance, a siren pierced through the night air, a sound that sent mixed waves of anxiety and anticipation through the crowd. Moments later, a fire marshal's vehicle rolled up, its lights flashing but silent as it came to a stop nearby. The fire marshal stepped out and immediately recognized the mayor among the crowd. "Mayor," he called out cheerfully before turning his gaze toward Tyler's bonfire. "What seems to be the issue here?" Veronica's expression shifted from authority to apprehension as she realized she had not only invited scrutiny but also error by calling for intervention without just cause. The fire marshal approached Tyler confidently and examined the setup. After a thorough inspection, he turned back to address everyone present. "This bonfire is perfectly within code. All safety measures are in place." A wave of relief washed over Tyler's neighbors as they erupted into cheers. They had stood together in defiance against unwarranted authority, and now it seemed they had won, at least for this moment. With the fire marshal confirming everything was up to standard, Tyler seized this opportunity to speak again. "It's time we come together not just as individuals but as a community committed to preserving our traditions," he urged passionately. "This is about more than just one bonfire, it's about our rights." As applause filled the air once more, Tyler felt an exhilarating surge of hope wash over him. The power dynamic had shifted dramatically that night. Veronica's attempt to stifle their spirit had only fueled their determination to protect what they cherished most, their community bonds and freedoms from overreach. Just as tension began to simmer in Tyler's backyard, the unexpected arrival of the fire marshal brought an air of anticipation and anxiety. Moments before, the HOA board members had been asserting their authority, challenging the very essence of this community gathering. When Tyler's voice resonated through the crowd, reaffirming their rights and insisting on their enjoyment of shared traditions, he could only hope it would make a difference. As the fire marshal stepped out of his vehicle and surveyed the scene, he swiftly spotted the mayor amongst the gathered neighbors. "Mayor Thompson." He called out with an easy smile, extending a friendly wave that immediately shifted both Tyler's and the crowd's composure. This was a welcome presence, someone who understood not only fire safety regulations, but also their importance in maintaining community warmth. With curiosity piqued, Veronica stepped back slightly, her commanding posture faltering as she observed the unfolding interactions. The fire marshal approached Tyler with a professional demeanor, which lessened the atmosphere of foreboding that had settled over the bonfire. "Let's see what we have here," he said as he inspected the area with keen attention. Tyler felt a combination of hope and apprehension, praying for a swift validation of his preparations. Meanwhile, the HOA board stood rigidly nearby, whispering among themselves with anxious eyes. They had anticipated disrupting Tyler's celebration, but found themselves on the brink of embarrassment instead. After examining Tyler's well-maintained fire pit and taking note of the safety equipment, the hose and extinguisher readily accessible, the fire marshal turned confidently back toward the crowd. "I'm happy to report that everything here is code compliant," he declared with assurance, a statement that hung heavily in the air like an unkind revelation for those hoping to shut down the festivities. The collective sigh from the neighbors erupted into cheers and applause as relief swept through them like a gust of wind blowing away dark clouds. Tyler's heart pounded. This was it. The moment he'd hoped would validate their gathering transformed into applause for their defiance against unwarranted control. Veronica's face soured as she attempted to regain her posture of authority. "But this is still inappropriate conduct. You can't just overlook HOA rules," she snapped, struggling to wrestle back control. Ignoring her protests, Tyler seized this golden opportunity to address not just those around him, but also his tacit adversary. "We are here to celebrate our community," he told Veronica firmly. "This bonfire is not just an event, it's a declaration that our traditions matter." "Mayor," Veronica called out more forcefully now, attempting to sway the authority present in her favor. "Surely you must understand we have regulations for a reason." But Mayor Thompson stepped forward with an unwavering gaze. On this matter, I believe our community values and freedoms should take precedence over restrictive policies born from heavy-handed governance, she challenged boldly. The crowd erupted once again, rallying behind their mayor's stance. Tyler felt vindicated. Their combined voices echoed throughout the neighborhood, filled with determination and hope for a brighter future. The encounter solidified what had been brewing that evening, a foundational unity ignited by not only a love for shared traditions, but also by standing up against overregulation and authority that stifled their community spirit. With both resolve and camaraderie forming into an unbreakable bond, it marked one pivotal moment they would carry forward together. No longer simply neighbors, but allies committed to reclaiming their home from unnecessary oversight that threatened what had always made their community special. As the echo of cheers faded from the fire marshal's announcement, a renewed sense of empowerment filled Tyler's backyard. Residents felt invigorated, the atmosphere charged with shared purpose. Surrounded by friendly faces and flickering flames, Tyler glanced at Mayor Thompson and saw that she appeared contemplative yet resolute. It was clear this was a pivotal moment, not just for them but for the community as a whole. The mayor stepped forward, her voice ringing out confidently above the soft crackling of the fire. "I need to address something important," she declared, commanding attention from every corner of the gathering. Her gaze shifted from the vibrant crowd to Veronica and the HOA board members who had attempted to undermine this celebration. "I believe it's time we question not only our rights, but also the legitimacy of these newly enforced policies that have led to unnecessary conflict." Veronica stiffened at this unexpected turn, clearly unprepared for such direct scrutiny in front of witnesses. She opened her mouth to interject but was cut off by murmurs of agreement rippling through the crowd. It was evident that many felt discontent with the HOA's approach and ruled behavior. "Let me be clear," Mayor Thompson continued, her tone unwaveringly strong. "Regulations are meant to protect us, yes, but they should never suffocate our freedoms or stifle community spirit." Each word resonated deeply among her constituents as they reminisced about evenings spent laughing around bonfires, a cherished tradition now threatened by an overzealous administration. The responses came in waves. Nods of affirmation and murmurs of encouragement permeated through the crowd, acknowledging not just their nostalgia but also their collective struggle against repression. Why were these rules implemented? Someone called out from the back, provoking further dialogue among those present. The very question hung heavy in the air, challenging authority directly. "I invite you all to consider whether these regulations truly serve our best interests," Mayor Thompson urged passionately as she surveyed the crowd. Her ability to challenge Veronica and bring clarity to their situation inspired hope in Tyler's heart that change might indeed be possible. Even amid growing dissent toward Veronica's tactics, some residents hesitated. Years of compliance had made them cautious about speaking against authority openly. Observing this hesitation, Tyler decided it was essential for him to reinforce what united them. "We gather here tonight because we believe in our right to come together without fear. We're not just fighting for this bonfire, we are standing up for our freedoms." The energy surged again among those gathered as they realized they were not alone in their fears and frustrations. Voices began rising, encouraging one another to speak out about how such policies affected their lives and enjoyment. Veronica's expression shifted between anger and alarm. It was becoming increasingly evident that her grasp on control depended on silence and submission, now fading before an awakened community poised for change. Feeling emboldened by Tyler's words and spurred on by their mayor's guidance, residents rallied behind both leaders, reflecting hope into action. Questions mounted not just regarding legality, but also what sort of community they aspired to foster, a safe sanctuary that embraced every member rather than limited them. It was a transformative moment, a palpable shift as neighbors exchanged contact information and vowed to attend future meetings together, affirming their commitment not merely to each other, but also to reclaiming communal traditions under open skies where laughter could freely dance alongside flickering flames without fear or reprisal. In this single evening beneath twinkling stars lit by both firelight and newfound resolve lay a foundation for unity against oppressive rule, a promise that together they would forge a path toward preserving what made their neighborhood vibrant: connection, celebration, and collective strength. In the wake of the confrontation at Tyler's bonfire, a palpable shift occurred within the community. The collective resolve to stand against the HOA's overreach reverberated beyond the flickering flames and laughter that night. It ignited a movement for change. Mayor Thompson recognized the momentum building among her constituents and decided to take action. She initiated an official inquiry into the HOA's practices, aiming to address the grievances expressed by residents regarding Veronica Blake's heavy-handed governance. As news of the investigation spread throughout the neighborhood, it sparked renewed conversations around dinner tables and during morning coffee runs. Residents recalled instances where they felt stifled by overly strict regulations that had little bearing on their day-to-day lives. From mundane rules about lawn decorations to limits on holiday lighting displays, people began to realize how much control had been wielded over them without proper justification. The investigation kicked off with a series of community meetings, where residents were encouraged to voice their experiences regarding interactions with the HOA. Many came forward with accounts of unreasonable fines or vague threats that left them feeling powerless and confused. Tyler attended these gatherings with growing enthusiasm, eager to contribute to discussions about ensuring their neighborhood could thrive without fear of reprisal. At one such meeting, a resident recounted how she had received a notice for painting her front door a shade too bright. "It was just my way of expressing myself. I didn't think I needed permission for that," she lamented, prompting nods of agreement from others who shared similar stories about trivial complaints that had escalated into significant stressors. The more these stories were shared, the more emboldened residents became, realizing they weren't alone in their frustration with Veronica's administration. The outpouring of support from neighbors lit a fire beneath them, a determination not just to challenge existing rules, but also to reshape how governance could function in their community moving forward. As weeks passed and the investigation progressed, officials began uncovering evidence of overreach in HOA governance. It became apparent that many policies had been enforced arbitrarily without sufficient justification or input from homeowners, a glaring violation of community trust that prompted serious concerns about accountability. Tyler found himself inspired, rallying his friends and neighbors together once more as they prepared for what would be a crucial city council meeting aimed at discussing proposed changes based on findings from the investigation. "This is our chance to make our voices heard," he urged during an impromptu gathering in his backyard, an echoing reminder of how far they'd come since that first bonfire confrontation. When the day finally arrived for community members to present their case before city officials, anticipation buzzed through Tyler as he walked alongside his neighbors toward Town Hall. The atmosphere was electric. This was no longer just about one family's struggle against an oppressive authority, but rather a broader movement advocating for citizens' rights and freedoms. The council listened attentively as testimonies were delivered passionately one after another, each story reinforcing a collective narrative demanding change. Tyler realized this wasn't simply an appeal against Veronica's policies. It was a declaration affirming their right to shape their own lives free from undue restrictions. In response to mounting pressure from residents and findings of misconduct within the HOA, city officials implemented reforms aimed at curbing excessive regulation while enhancing transparency in governance. With new rules established allowing homeowners greater say in decision-making processes, there was palpable optimism amongst residents eager to participate actively in shaping their community's future. The culmination of these efforts marked not just victory for Tyler and his neighbors, but also signified revitalization, an opportunity for people who once felt overlooked and stifled now empowered to reclaim joyfulness and connection within their neighborhood once again. As the dust settled from the investigation into the HOA's practices, the City Council convened a significant meeting to discuss the findings and lay out the next steps for reform. Residents packed the town hall, buzzing with anticipation as they awaited the council's decisions, eager to witness how their voices had influenced change. Tyler stood amongst them, flanked by neighbors who had bonded through their shared struggle, all ready to reclaim a sense of community that had long been overshadowed by unnecessary regulations. Mayor Thompson took her place at the front, poised and confident. Her presence seemed to instill courage in those gathered. She had become a symbol of their collective fight for rights and freedoms. As she opened the session, she addressed both council members and constituents directly, ensuring everyone understood the significance of this moment. "Today," she began, "we are not just addressing grievances, we are redefining how we interact as a community and what governance should look like." The council members nodded in agreement as she outlined critical findings from the investigation. Evidence showed that several of Veronica Blake's policies were overly restrictive and enforced without adequate justification or input from residents, essentially stifling creativity and individuality among homeowners. It was clear to everyone that such practices were not only detrimental, but also undermined trust within their neighborhood. In response to these revelations, new rules were proposed to curtail the powers of the HOA while ensuring that resident rights were safeguarded. Among these new regulations were provisions for more transparent decision-making processes within the HOA, granting homeowners a seat at the table when it came to modifications or implementation of neighborhood rules. Tyler couldn't help but feel a swell of pride as he listened to Mayor Thompson articulate these upcoming changes. This was no longer simply about his backyard bonfires. It symbolized a revolution against an administration that sought to control rather than serve its constituents. He exchanged glances with his neighbors who nodded in approval. They all recognized just how far they had come together. A lively discussion ensued among council members regarding specific changes to be enacted. Suggestions included community forums where residents would have direct channels to express concerns or recommend adjustments to existing regulations. Other proposals focused on creating an advisory board composed of members from various sectors of the community, ensuring diverse representation when it came to decisions affecting everyday life. Throughout these discussions, Tyler felt his heart race at every affirmative nod from council members. Their recognition of local voices was pivotal in reshaping governance dynamics within their neighborhood. After hours of deliberation, consensus emerged. They were ready to endorse reforms aimed at protecting residents' rights while fostering community engagement through events like Tyler's beloved bonfires. By unanimously voting for these changes, city officials sent a powerful message. Governance should facilitate connection and joy within neighborhoods instead of stifling them under oppressive control. With relief washing over him and excitement bubbling anew among his friends and neighbors, Tyler realized this was not merely about changing policies, but about revitalizing community spirit itself. As they stepped out of town hall into fresh air filled with laughter and chatter, Tyler felt optimism surge through him like firelight flickering against twilight. His bonfires now officially recognized, as community gatherings would mark more than just enjoyable evenings. They stood as testaments to resilience and unity. With new rules established curbing HOA powers alongside a renewed focus on safeguarding residents' freedoms, Tyler envisioned joyous nights ahead where friends could gather freely without fear or restrictions, where laughter could once again flow alongside hot coals beneath a starry sky, all thanks to their shared commitment and courage that sparked tangible change in their corner of the world. With the new rules officially in place, a palpable sense of relief and excitement rippled through the neighborhood. Residents could feel the difference. The oppressive aura of intimidation that once loomed over them had been lifted, replaced by an invigorating spirit of unity and freedom. Tyler stood at the center of this transformation, excitedly preparing for what would be a historic bonfire, now fully embraced as an official community event. In the weeks following the council meeting, Tyler and his neighbors gathered frequently to celebrate their newfound liberties, sharing ideas for future events that could enhance their sense of community. Each bonfire was now infused with a renewed purpose. It was a celebration of resilience and solidarity, a symbol of their commitment to ensuring that everyone's voice was heard moving forward. As the next Friday approached, word spread through the neighborhood about the upcoming bonfire. This time, it wasn't just about gathering around a fire. It was about reaffirming their collective identity. Tyler urged his neighbors to bring friends, food, and stories to share. The energy leading up to the night was electric, reminding many of their earlier gatherings but amplified by this newfound recognition. However, not everyone was pleased with this cultural shift. Veronica Blake, feeling the pressure from her declining influence, faced mounting scrutiny from both residents and city officials. Despite her previous power as HOA president, she found herself increasingly isolated as people began to openly question her actions and the legitimacy of her policies. The public sentiment had shifted dramatically. No longer were they intimidated by her threats. Instead, they stood united against them. On the eve of the bonfire, news broke that Veronica had decided to resign from her position amid public scrutiny and pressure surrounding her management of HOA policies. This announcement sent waves of relief through the community, quickly followed by jubilant celebrations as neighbors rejoiced in what felt like a long-overdue victory for homeowners' rights. Tyler felt a renewed sense of hope for their neighborhood, a belief that they could continue to shape their lives free from unreasonable restrictions. When Friday night arrived, Tyler's yard transformed into an inviting sanctuary once again. The familiar crackling of wood filled the air as neighbors arrived with excitement painted across their faces, each bringing something unique to share. Laughter mingled with conversations about future plans for community events and potential programs aimed at fostering engagement among residents. Mayor Thompson made a point to attend as well, arriving with warm greetings for those who had shared in the collective journey toward empowerment. "This is your space," she declared warmly as she surveyed the gathering. "You've fought hard for it, and now we can celebrate openly." As twilight enveloped them under a blanket of stars twinkling overhead, Tyler took center stage, a symbolic leader among equals ready to address his friends and neighbors. "Tonight isn't just about enjoying each other's company, it's about celebrating our victory together," he began passionately. "These bonfires are not merely gatherings, they have become symbols of our commitment to one another." Encouraged by his words, cheers erupted from the crowd, reinforcing their bonds of friendship and unity even further. They were no longer merely individuals living alongside one another, but instead allies dedicated to the communal values instilled within them. From that night on, each Friday bonfire became an officially sanctioned event celebrating community strength, where traditions were cherished and creativity flourished without fear or reprisal. With every flicker of flame illuminating their faces came reminders of how far they had come together, a testament to resilience forged through shared trials. Their neighborhood blossomed anew as residents embraced these opportunities to connect. Laughter echoed through warm evenings as friendships deepened and new traditions took root. The culture shift had been monumental, an affirmation that even amid struggles for freedom, communities could rise stronger than ever before when united in purpose and spirit.